Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be painting daffodils in watercolor. We're going to be doing some in-depth drills and a final painting together. Let's start looking at the daffodil flower itself. So if you can see, there are 6 petals on here. These are slightly wilted. When I got them, they weren't wilted like this, but so the petals are kind of turning up. These would be straight out. They sort of overlap each other and they're kind of translucent, so you can kind of see through them. See how you can see through the petals a little bit? And they have this trumpet center and it sort of juts out and it's sort of like a triangle with these frilly edges. And then there is a center stamen in here. The leaves are long and pointy and the stem is even longer. So the stem goes down and then the leaves sort of wrap around that stem. And then behind here, they have this sort of bulb at the end. This one was a casualty. And then this wraps around it, this leaf here. I guess this is like the bulb covering, but you'll see them. They kind of stay on the daffodil a lot of the time. But this is when it starts as a bud, and then it sort of opens up, and then this is left. So yeah, it is always great to have a reference. You don't need one. You can look online. And just sort of check out all the references, but again, like, always great to have one. And these ones right now, it's beginning, spring is coming, so we have them readily available, and they're even, I wish I just picked some. I had some at like the local park, but yeah. So let's just leave this here and then we can just start going into drills. I'm going to be using my Mungyo palette. This is Mungyo Professional 48 color palette. And then I'm just going to use some round brushes today. I'm using the grabby round brushes. These come in a set of 5. I'm going to use size 8, possibly 4 and 2. But size 8 I'm going to be using for the petals mostly. And the petals are going to be, we're going to use like a permanent yellow color. You can mix it up. So these are a little bit lighter. And then the center is a little bit more like an orangey hue, so you can mix in a touch of orange into that center, or you can do like very drastic and do maybe some vermilion red. Let's start some drills over here. So I'm just gonna wet my brush and I'm just gonna go into this permanent yellow color here, and we're gonna start by making some sort of S shapes. So you're just gonna hold your hand like this, start with the point, and you're going to drag your brush to the left and pull back down in sort of an S shape. So start here, pull the brush, pull it slightly to the left, back down, and pick up. And that's how you're going to make that S shape. So just keep practicing that. And then you can start to do the opposite direction. So press your brush down slightly, use the tip of that brush, pull, drag slightly to the right, and then a little bit to the left, and then lift up. And that's going to give you, like, this is really the S shape. Not so dramatically though. You're slightly pulling. So we're going down, slightly pulling, and then back up. And then you can start putting those together. So we're going to go slightly to the right and then do another petal right next to it like this, slightly to the left. And you can leave some space in there if you want. Slightly to the right, lift. And you're doing this to get used to the muscle memory. You're just going to repeat these types of drills and you're going to get better as you go, because this is how you will build up your muscle memory. And it might be hard at first, but it's going to get easier. You're going to get used to it. You're going to find your own unique sort of style. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be very loose. You can go quick, you can go slowly, but sort of just like pull them together. I like to leave a little bit of space for white. You can always add some expressive strokes here with the tip of your brush if you want more of like a loose, flowy sort of vibe. But yeah, once you are used to creating these shapes, like this one's a little bit too wet, so just blot your brush and pick up that pigment. Go to this side again. You could add a little bit more color into there. So you can pick up a little bit of orange and drop it in while it's still wet. You can practice that. And you don't have to leave the space in the center. You can just meet them right down like that. But yeah, the tips of these can be either very rounded. This one broke right here at the stem, so that's why I'm using this one. It's hard to tell because they are a little wilted, but they were sort of a slight point. It's not very sharp, but it's more rounded with a slight point. So this S is really great for that sort of a shape. Drag it to the right. Start at that point again and drag it to the left and meet back down in the center. You can lift some pigment and then you can always drop some back in. See how you could just drop that in, drag it up if you want. While it's still wet, you can create some variation in that petal. The next thing we will practice is sort of a side view. So you are going to just start by making a circle, not a full circle. It's going to be more like an oval. So you're going to mimic if this was from the side. So it's going to be this sort of oval shape here. And then we're going to do a triangle shape, almost. A little rounded triangle. And this is going to be darker, so I added a little bit of orange, but again, you're practicing right now, so you can do whatever colors make you happiest. I'm going to drop a tiny bit of orange right in here while it's still wet, so we bring this forward. I guess that went a little bit into the red. I meant to do the orange, but that's still fine. And then I'm dropping in some pigment at the base. And this is how you're going to be doing that center trumpet sort of, I guess that's what it's called, maybe a trumpet. So if you want to practice that again, do like a round sort of squiggly oval here. And this is, again, if you're looking at it from the side. We will do it from the front. And then we're going to do that shape again here. Pull it down. Pick up some water if you put too much. I'm going to put a little, you can always leave it like this, let it dry, and then go back in and add color. Okay. And then if you just want to practice that sort of trumpet shape without the squiggles, just use that brush to make that shape on slightly slanted on the side like this. Slightly slanted on the side. And then again, meet at the bottom. And that's going to give you that shape there. And it is sort of like a triangle. You can always do this, and then when it's dry, go back in and add your darker orange right to the top here. Well, right now it's still wet, so it will create bleeds, but if you don't want those bleeds, you can go back in when it is dry. So we'll come back when it's dry. Now you're going to start practicing adding leaves to this side profile. Same movement. You're going to use that brush, do a swoop, and back to that point. And then from this side, same thing. Swoop and back to that point. And it's facing this way. I have a little bit too much water on my brush today. And then this one's going to be, you see how this is facing upwards like that? You can see some in the back here. So this one is going to be sort of up. And we're meeting back almost at this point here. So just ignore that, but pull this down, make that swoop. And then since we did that, we will pull from this, make a swoop that way. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of orange to my color here because this is going to sort of overlap. And pull that down. This is sort of like a side profile. Add some orange into that while it's still wet, so it gives us a little bit of variation. Draw in some lines, or you could do that after. Again, there are really no rules. You just do what you want to do. It'll come to you as it does. Okay, so that's the side view. Now the centers, you're not going to see directly into them when they are on the side like this. You can sort of slightly see it sticking out, this stamen here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to sort of lightly put some yellow in there and let that dry and come back to that. And then we're just going to put like a very light dot in there just to give that almost essence. So if you want to do the flower facing towards you, I'm going to mix up some of that yellow with a little bit of orange for the center. And I'm going to leave this space over here for some leaves, but for here we're going to do a center flower here. So let us just create this rounded, almost little stippling, these little squiggly dots, and this is where you're going to do a circle. Now, I really do like to add my bleeds while everything is still wet. This will stay damp for a little bit, so you can do it immediately or you can wait. See how I'm dropping in some of that orange? And then when that dries, it sort of comes back at you. So this one's dry over here, so we can add a darker orange to the front, and you see how that pulled out, and then you can add some lines in your trumpet. I'm gonna call it a trumpet. I might be totally wrong in that. Okay, back to this. We're gonna start doing what we did here. And we're going to start, you want to have room for 6. So there's going to be 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom, and then 2 and 2. So we're just going to do our petal shape from the top, drag that, and then again here. Drag and meet. And they can be a little bit like organic and not perfect. There's a little hair in there. We'll get that when it's dry. And if you want, you can draw these in. If you're more comfortable, you can use a pencil and draw your petals in very lightly. If it makes it easier for you, you do that. Don't think that that's not, you know, like the right way to do things or cheating. Using a pencil and sketching in first can be a lot easier than just going right at it. But since this is just practice, I do encourage you to try it this way, but do what makes things easier for you. So we're just going to keep doing this petal all the way around. Drag that out. And then another one here. You can slightly touch while it's still wet and pull from that, and it will create some really nice organic blooms and bleeds. See, I'm like kind of lifting my brush, making like little strokes. And then again here, so pull out to the right, no, the left, and then back into the right. If you need to blot, blot. Now we're going to pull out to the right and then back to the left. And you kind of want them to be touching. You can leave some space. You can always go back into the petal next door and sort of pull out some shapes there. Okay, same thing happening here. Now, yeah, you can turn your paper if it's easier, which it is easier. But as you practice watercolor, you sort of get used to moving your hands in different directions. And again, you don't want it to be too pointy. It can be if you prefer that, but we're sort of doing like a slightly rounded petal, using those S shapes. And you can hold your brush a little bit in the middle if you want more of a loose, less control. And then I just like to add in some little fun lines here. And then I'm gonna just do a very light wash in the center of yellow. And you can pull from that yellow, that orange that's a little bit dry, and it will pull out some. Okay, now we're gonna let that dry. And I'm just gonna go into the stems. So this one is gonna be looking up towards the side here. So we're just gonna mix up some green. I'm just gonna use whatever green's right here. You could use like a sap green. What's this one? Sap green. Use a smaller brush if you really want some control. So it's gonna be like, this petal is in the way, but this is gonna be coming out like this. And then it's gonna be going down. So you're not gonna see this part right here yet. So we're going to pull it out like this and then go down. And these are pretty straight. So this is in my way. I should have done that on the opposite side, but I didn't. So this is your stem. And they are pretty straight, so, but these are kind of dancing, I guess you could say. And you can lift your brush up and make those lines really straight if you want, or you can just leave it as it is. And then I'm just going to use this bigger round, and we're just going to create some leaves. So the leaves are typically just a straight line, and your brush will do this work for you. Use that tip of that brush, press down, drag. We'll do that another time on this side. So I'm pretty much just using the brush to make the shape. Press down, drag, and lift. And now, is this one going behind or is it in front? This one's going to be in front. And this is behind, so maybe we'll make this a little bit darker. Oops. And then you can always add some in the back. This one is going to be in front. And just draw your line like that. And practice some leaves over here. We're going to use our brush to do the work for us. Press down, use the belly of the brush, drag as long as you want, and then lift up. And if you want to use the tip, you can use the tip like this. Same over here. You can go this way. You can drag this way. It's easier for you. Lift to the tip. Drag down again. And then you can practice making lines with the tip of your brush like this. We're not doing those, but if you want, that's going to help you with this. And then we've got a little bit of brown over here where we'll make that sort of bud sticking out just because we did that. But yeah, this is just like using your brush. This is a smaller brush, so if you want to do something where you leave space in the middle, you'll be able to press down, pull, and then go back up to that point, press down and pull. And that's going to give you like a sort of a space in the middle there. Let's try that again with a better loaded brush. Press down, pull, meet up the top, press down, pull. So that gives you that sort of look of that empty space in the middle. A lot of people like that look. I love that look. I typically don't do that, but it is a nice style. So there's definitely many ways that you can use your brush. And if you have a dagger brushes are really fun to play with. I have this one from Princeton. This is a nice dagger brush. So this brush kind of does the work for you. And if you don't have it, it's fine. I'm just showing you because it's just a fun brush to have in your collection. This is going to give you a lot of loose, flowy, and you can use the tip to create some lines in your petals, in your leaves, and in your petals. So we can just do a little bit of dots in the center, like that. Or you can use a greenish tint if you want, if you prefer. I think they are like very light yellow to white in this one anyway. And there is one in the center. So if you want to use like a darker green, and then do your, it is pretty windy out today, so I'm sorry if you can hear the wind. And then I'm just gonna go back into that orange and we are going to do some lines. But yeah, once you are done practicing, you can move on to doing another, like a final, and we can go into creating just a pretty piece together. So tune in if you want to keep watching. Now we're just going to use what we just practiced and we're going to try to make something together here. So again, if it's easier for you, you can use a pencil and lightly sketch, but just make sure it's light because when you do put the paint over it, you're not going to be able to erase it. So make it very, very light, unless you don't mind seeing the pencils through it, of course. But there is no wrong or right. Do what is easier for you. Do what makes you comfortable. You can always start by sketching, and as you get better, you can start doing it without sketching. So let's start by painting a daffodil that is facing us. This one is so pretty. So we're just going to start by making that center, this nice squiggly line here. And that's just going to be the middle of the flower. So I'm not doing straight up orange. I'm doing a little bit of this permanent yellow with a touch of orange to create this shape here. Going to go back into this yellow mixture here, this lighter yellow. And we're just going to start putting our petals in, using the shape that I taught you in the drills. And I'm just going to try to hold my brush a little bit looser and create these loose, open, flowy sort of floral petals here. I'm just gonna tap that and then drag some of that color out. I love to create those bleeds. This lighter yellow here. This is just using that S motion that we practiced. I usually like to mix up enough, but I'm just going through color today. Make this leaf, this petal bigger. And they are fairly larger petals, So you can always go back in and make them a little bigger. I love that look of those like lines in there. And I've left tiny little spaces of white. You can leave more white. Now I want to do one that is facing probably this way and then that way. So this one, we could face it, oops, I obviously ignore that, but we could face it sort of looking like this way, so you can't see the stem. And then this one over here I'll do so we can see the side. So go back into that yellow, that orangey yellow. And we will paint just like we did in our practice. This sort of trump. And get some lighter yellow into that and bring this down. I'm leaving a little bit of white to start. And go into that lighter yellow mix. I'm going to start down here, and I'm just going to do the same shapes as we did in the practice. It's good to just not overthink it too much. Like getting just like the essence of the flower is great. Like, you know that these are daffodils. They don't have to be perfect. It's pretty obvious. And now I'm just gonna drop in a little bit of this orange right in here while it's still wet. And this is a good time, maybe you want to use your smaller brush if you wanted more control, and drop that in while it's still a little damp. Pull this petal forward. And you can always do this after. Depends on whatever your preference is. So let's say this is straight that way, so you're not going to see the middle at all. So do that orange. And this is sort of going to be like a line. Like that. And you can slightly see the other side. But you can go in after and make that and pull that in if it's too much for you at first. And then I'm going to use a little bit of this lighter yellow so that there's a difference between these two colors. And I'm just going to pull this down. Now this one is a smaller one, so I'm kind of just doing like these stroking motions. And then you're gonna sort of see this flower, this petal facing towards you. So sort of curve like this. And then you'll see those petals coming out from the sides. Like that. Maybe one will go down like that. You can see them like this, a little peeking out. And then you're gonna see the green right here from this bud. So first you're gonna start, I'm gonna add a little bit of a darker yellow to this right here so that this will be coming out towards us and it won't blend into all that yellow. And there'll be a difference in color. And then I'm going to put a little bit of this yellow right here, just a tiny bit, and this is going to be the start of the top of the stem that connects to the flower. And then I'm going to go in with this green, and we're just going to put that in there so these blend together, they sort of bleed together. And then we're going to create this sort of rounded shape, like you can see here. See how these connect? So this is dried out, but when this was live, it was more green. Oops. This might be a little bit too fat, but you get the point here. And then it's gonna go back down and it's gonna get a little bit lighter. And then it's going to have this piece here that's covering, if you can see that. So let's say we make just a lightish yellow with green for that. And just pull that out like this. Don't have to overthink it too much. Go back into that stem and create that sort of differentiation between the stem and the bud. And then again, we're going back into the green to create the stem. Go all the way down. That's the stem. And that's how I would do it on the side. Now I'm gonna go back in and add all my stems. I'm gonna stick to using this one. I have a little bit more control. Imagine the stem starts here and then it goes straight down. You could do one line or you could do two, whatever you want. And then this one's gonna go down like that. So it will start here. You would see this, but it would be hidden. And we're just gonna have it sort of meet like this and go straight down. And just for fun, I think I want to add just sort of mix this color up a little bit. I just want to add a bud on top. Where should we add a bud? Maybe somewhere over here. So you'll make a sort of round shape. In this green color. And then when it's still wet, I'm going to drop a little bit of yellow here. And that'll bleed and make like sort of that color that's wrapped here. And then we'll just go down. We're going to add some leaves to these. It's a little wonky, it's okay. I'll go in with my 8 and we're gonna start adding some leaves from down here. And it seems that they only go up to like right below the stems. Some, I think tulips will go above, but these seem to just sort of stop right below. So we're just gonna pull that down. Yeah, that's a little bit dark, but that's okay. Can add in a little bit more green or even some yellow to that mix. And this will be in front. And we'll do the same thing on this side. Meets right here, so that it's sort of hugging the stem. Let's see, this one. We'll go like sort of behind it. And then I'll pull one in front. Just have fun. How about we do this so that it's covering that stem? This one can go straight up. So this one has stems. This behind. Maybe you'll see some from the back. Just kind of put a hint of those in there. This is kind of open here, so I want to add something. Just fun. Maybe sticking out over here. You could add more of these types of buds in there if you want, because they do grow sort of. So if this one, maybe you'll just add a little, like a longer bud that's kind of dried out. Put some green in that. Down. Then we can go back in and create our details. We can always go back after and fill in some more of these, all these like leaves here. Fill that in with a little bit of yellow there, because you don't want it to be white. Same thing over here. But I'm gonna go into this section and I'm gonna start putting some of the yellow, the orange details in there. And then the leaves. You don't have to do this part, but I really like it. If you want just a deeper yellow, you don't have to use the orange. Just slight little lines. Same on this side. Pull that petal out a little. And then if you want, you could even go into this red, like a little bit of red, if you want to sort of make this look a little bit more dramatic. Now ours don't have red in it, but there are some that do. And it's just like very, it gives a little bit more drama. Let's add a little bit. You don't have to, of course, do this. I just want to show you different ways. And then I'm just going to drop in a little bit of that sort of yellow ochre color to the center. Now if you want, you could use like masking fluid or just leave a little white dot, but I don't think it matters. I think this is good. This you'll sort of see just a little tip. That one you won't see at all. And then that's really it. You can use the yellow ochre if you want to create any kind of subtle, like if you don't want the orange, the bright orange, you could use some yellow ochre. It will be more subtle. And you can go play with more leaves down here. I mean, they typically grow all in with a bunch of these, so really pretty. That is how I would paint some daffodils. And it takes a lot of practice, but that's the only way you're gonna get good at things. That's the only way that you're gonna learn your style. And it's fun, so just have fun with it and keep practicing and keep learning, and every day you will get better. Thank you so much for tuning into this tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something new, and I hope that you will give it a try. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next. I hope you subscribe and join me for the next tutorial. See you next time.